If I gave you $10,000 today, what would you do with it? Maybe you'd pay off your debt, buy a car, take a vacation, or finally start investing. Now let me ask you a different question. If I took that same $10,000 away from someone who spent 5 years earning it, would I only be taking their money, or would I be taking something much bigger? Because here's what's interesting. Give two people the exact same $10,000. And 5 years later, one of them will probably have nothing left. The other might have $100,000. Same amount of money. Completely different outcome. Why? Because the difference was never the money. It was the person holding it. And I think that's why so many successful people remember their first $10,000. Not because it made them rich, because it was the moment money stopped controlling them. Before your first $10,000, money quietly controls almost every decision you make. Your car makes a strange noise. Your stomach drops. Your boss asks to see you before lunch. Your mind immediately jumps to, what if I get fired? Your dog gets sick. Your phone suddenly stops working. Your rent goes up. Every unexpected expense feels like an emergency. Not because the problem is huge, because your margin for error is tiny. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're not really making decisions. You're reacting. You don't ask, what's the smartest long-term choice? You ask, what's the cheapest option today? You don't buy what's best. You buy what you can survive. And living like that is exhausting, not physically, mentally, because survival leaves very little room for dreaming. You tell yourself, I'll invest when I make more money. I'll start that business next year. I'll travel someday. I'll quit this job when I have enough saved. But somehow, that day never comes, because survival always wins. Then something changes. Not overnight, not because you suddenly become rich, but because one day, you look at your bank account, and for the first time, you see 5 figures. Nothing else has changed. You still drive the same car, still live in the same apartment, still have the same job, but somehow, everything feels different, because the number didn't change your life, it changed the questions you ask. Instead of asking, can I survive this? You start asking, is this actually worth it? That's a completely different way to think, because money doesn't just buy things, it buys options. The option to leave a toxic job, the option to take a few months and learn a new skill, the option to invest without panicking every time the market drops, the option to help your family when they need you, the option to say no, and sometimes, the ability to say no is more valuable than the ability to say yes. That's what financial security really looks like. Not luxury, not expensive cars, not designer clothes, options. But here's the part I think almost everyone gets wrong. People think saving your first $10,000 changes you. I think it's the opposite. By the time you save your first $10,000, you've already changed. Nobody accidentally saves $10,000. Somewhere along the way, you stopped buying everything you wanted. You learned to wait. You became comfortable delaying gratification. You started thinking about next year instead of next weekend. You stopped trying to look rich and started trying to become rich. The money didn't teach you those habits. Those habits created the money. Read that again. Because I think it's one of the biggest misconceptions about wealth. Most people believe money changes people. Your first $10,000 proves the opposite. People change first. Then the money shows up. Imagine 2 people. One person wins $10,000 in the lottery. The other spends 5 years earning it. At the end, both of them have exactly the same amount of money, but they're not the same person. One received money, the other built habits. One has a bank balance, the other has a system, and systems can create another $10,000. That's why so many people lose everything and build it back, because wealth isn't stored in a bank account. It's stored in your habits. Money can disappear, discipline doesn't, patience doesn't, self-control doesn't. Those stay with you. So maybe we've been looking at the first $10,000 the wrong way. It's not important because of what it buys. It's important because of what it proves. It proves you can delay gratification. It proves you can stay consistent. It proves you can build instead of consume. It proves you can think long term. And once you prove that to yourself, everything changes. Investing doesn't feel scary anymore. Unexpected expenses don't feel like disasters anymore. You stop making every decision from fear and start making decisions from opportunity. Remember the question I asked at the beginning? Why does almost every successful person remember their first $10,000? I don't think it's because they remember the money. I think they remember the person they became while earning it. Because your first $10,000 isn't proof that you're wealthy. It's proof that wealth is no longer a mystery. You finally understand that it isn't luck. It isn't talent. It isn't one perfect investment. It's a process. A process you can repeat again and again and again. That's the real value of your first $10,000. Not the money itself, but the confidence that says, I know how to build this. And once you know how to build it once, money slowly stops controlling your life, and you finally start controlling your money.